Gives me much pleasure to be here tonight because tonight, of course, is another milestone in the growth of the Fijian economy. As Ajay quite rightly pointed out, that car sales or sales of new cars are in fact an indication, like the construction industry, of the well-being or health of an economy. And he's absolutely right in terms of saying that the number of units that were sold of new motor vehicles last year is unprecedented, at least since 1987. This has come about for at least a couple of reasons. One of them, of course, again as he rightly pointed out, because of the fiscal incentives that the Bainimarama government has put into place. Duties that used to range from 32% have now been brought down to 15%. The fact that we have introduced an age limit on second-hand vehicles has actually spurred on the growth or the demand for new motor vehicles. New motor vehicles are not only essential to ensure that we get environmentally friendly, energy efficient vehicles into the economy, but it also means that we have follow-up service for those vehicles. Because any new motor car dealer will tell you, unlike second-hand car dealers, and I'm not having a go at you, but the point is that we still today get a lot of complaints about second-hand car dealers. In fact, last week I had somebody complaining about a second-hand car dealer. The reality is that companies that bring in new motor vehicles will always have service delivery, will always have a backup service. And that is the beauty about bringing in new motor vehicles. The second aspect of course, has been the entrepreneurship, and in particular entrepreneurship of Fijian business houses. And today, of course, is an example of that you have a completely Fijian company that has grown from strength to strength since 2006, and now has ventured into the motor vehicle industry only in the recent past. We have seen, of course, in other areas and other companies bringing in branded vehicles, and new too, that we never thought would come into Fiji. I don't think anyone of us imagined the Chevrolet would come in. Apart from now your Peugeots, you have other motor vehicle companies that are bringing other motor vehicles into Fiji. I probably should have mentioned those names to detract from tonight's launch. But the reality is that all these new motor vehicles are in Fiji. The reality is that the consumers of Fiji have a much better range of choices in terms of acquiring motor vehicles. What that means is that we want business houses to focus not on the one sale kill, which has been a problem in our business community and overall in our economy, but they need to be working on volume-based economy, a volume-based approach to selling vehicles in this particular instance. And the focus therefore should be on service. I'll give you an example. Airline companies now, for example, Singapore Airlines and Emirates, they've recently announced that they have increased the amount of weight allowance they'll give you for business class travel. Pricing has not become an issue anymore. Pricing, everybody can fight over pricing. Eventually the quality, the service levels is what matters. So the fact how they serve you, what allowances they give you, should also translate in the motor vehicle industry. So as a Fijian consumer, and all of you are consumers of motor vehicles or will be purchasing a motor vehicle, you should be now having a range of choices to choose from, and you'll be able to go to companies which you believe will give you the best service, which will give you a good quality product. And I think that is the beauty of what is happening in Fiji. And I want to take a few minutes essentially to highlight to you the unprecedented foundations that have been set in the Fijian economy and the trajectory it's providing for the economic growth rate in Fiji to happen, or to take place, with of course the right government in place. You have now a growth rate of 3.6%. Only in 3 times in Fiji's history have you had sustained economic growth rates. One was immediately after independence, from 1970 to 75. One was from 1992 to 1996. And the third period is now. 4 years of economic growth rate. And indeed projected growth rates now for the at least next 3 to 4 years to come. Unlike what some of the politicians are claiming that, oh, in 1999 we had a growth rate of 9%. You have to look at the base rate. There was a drought the year preceding that. Obviously the next year if the agricultural output is higher, you look very good. What is the real test of the economy is sustained economic growth rate. And sustained economic growth rate means it's good for business, it's good for the consumers, and it's overall good for providing opportunities for ordinary Fijians. So ladies and gentlemen, I think it is very, very critical, and most of you here are, well, some of you here are business people, to be able to understand, and those of you who are also employees in those business houses, to be able to understand the connectivity between a solid, a consistent, and a persistent policy directive and outlook and a focus, as opposed to decisions being made on the trot. It is critical because it grows the business, it grows the opportunity for having more jobs, it sustains jobs, and of course it produces money or revenue for government coffers. And that revenue must be spent in a transparent manner, but for providing the infrastructure, providing the facilitating opportunities that will create more opportunities. And that is very, very critical. And I think when we go into elections, as the Prime Minister has highlighted over the next couple of days, you need to think about these issues. You need to think about the government or the party that will provide that trajectory for you, that will provide those opportunities for you. I'd like to once again acknowledge the fantastic vision of the Vision Group, if I can use that pun, in fact investing in 2006, but continuing to grow following the events of 5 December 2006, because it shows a certain level of confidence you had in, of course, your own business acumen, but also the country as a whole. And it is, we like to publicly acknowledge you for that, and we hope that you continue to grow your investments in Fiji. It is always very, very good, we believe, to have local investments grow at a much faster rate than perhaps even foreign direct investment. FDIs are good, it does provide new growth rates, but they take their cue from local investors. If they see a company that's locally based investing $8 million in this motor car company, then obviously they'll believe that things are going well in Fiji. So thank you very much for that, and we look forward to further investments in Fiji. It is critical that we all contribute as partners, as employers and investors, and indeed as employees. And if we are able to strike that balance with good government intervention and provisions of good policies, then Fiji will have unprecedented prosperity.
Vision.